Red tide is a type of phytoplankton called a dinoflagellate, and specifically it's a dinoflagellate called Carina brevis. The plankton community in Florida is usually pretty diverse with lots of different species present, and the red tide plankton is also usually present but at really tiny numbers, where their numbers overwhelm all the other plankton, and some toxins that they produce to defend themselves against being eaten also get explosively produced, and so you end up with this toxic phytoplankton bloom.
One thing with red tide, Carina brevis, is that when those waves crash, you could actually rupture the cells and it will release those brevetoxins into the atmosphere. A lot of beachgoers are having respiratory issues and dizziness, and pretty much right after they come out of the water or if they're walking along the beach.
One of the major things that affects coastal ocean and Gulf water quality comes from runoff from land. So we need to be really careful about what kind of materials we let enter our waterways, because those eventually make it to the ocean.
The extremes that are happening this summer may be impacting fish populations much larger than typical, and other wildlife too. Obviously we're hearing things about endangered species dying, sea turtles and manatees and dolphins and so on. So I think they're kind of the most at risk. Any population that is endangered or threatened or in decline, you hit them with something big like this and that further sets back their populations. Fighting the source of those nutrients, or removing the source of those nutrients, or dealing with the source of the nutrients is the key.
If I could change one thing, it would change the regulations that we have on how fertilizers can be used and on how much maintenance sewage systems and septic tanks need, so that we can reduce the amount of plant nutrients that are getting washed into the water. And one way that we can attack that problem as a society is by making sure that when we have elections that we vote for politicians that are in favor of regulating things like that.
Treating the water, restoring the natural flow, I think those are two big things that we need to do in order to stop this big bloom occurring once it does come on shore. I don't think we're ever going to stop red tide. Again, it's natural. So we'll still get those blooms that come ashore every so often. We'll still see fish kills, but not to this extent that we're seeing this year or in future years potentially.
The red tide bloom this year started on kind of southwest Florida around the Naples and Fort Myers area, and has been slowly migrating northward. And that has a lot to do with the fact that the Caloosahatchee River comes to the Gulf of Mexico in the Naples area, in between Naples and Fort Myers, and that river brings a lot of agricultural runoff and pollution from Lake Okeechobee.
The other area that's adding nutrients to the system is us. Every resident in Florida, really, particularly Central and South Florida, fertilizing our lawns, fertilizing our plants in our landscapes and so on. And that might not seem like you're affecting it, but small contributions add up in large numbers. And this is kind of goes back to the whole idea of overfishing, right? When people are saying, oh, we have to put limits on your catch, they first point the finger at commercial fishermen. They're the big ones. They go out and pull out a lot of the fish. It's their fault. However, when you look at all the recreational fishermen that are not looked at collectively many times, you add them up, they have really big impacts. So same thing here with our yards and our landscapes. So learning how to use fertilizers appropriately. Most people don't really look at the label and read every little fine detail on how to use these things. Spread it on the lawn. Well, yeah, that might be okay, but oh, is it going to rain in an hour or two? That means that fertilizer might just wash away before it actually gets into the roots. So I think, again, going back to education and awareness, once people know what types of effects they could potentially have and how it may contribute to this problem, I think that's when people start changing their actions and behaviors. but also giving them kind of a guide on how to do that is important too.
We need to take action, and we need to start making a difference into seeing a better future for our ocean. We need to see what we can do to improve our ocean in the future.